The views expressed and the opinions given by their guests do not necessarily reflect those of the Odyssey Files hosts, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, The Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Oh!
Kim, what are you doing?
Well, I'm telling Mike and Dave, it's time to get on the show.
Oh, well, the Odyssey Files starts now.
Good evening, paranormal community. You are watching, listening to the Odyssey Files. I am your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Mr. David Sowery. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, Paranormal Universe.
I'm thinking one of these weeks that I'm just going to keep that entrance, good evening, going as long as I possibly can. So
just let me know so I can mute.
Is it a little loud?
Well, the way you're going to blow it out, yeah. I mean, I got my volume down to 35 right now, and that was loud. I mean, not uncomfortably loud, but
well,
yeah. So if you're going to blow one out and keep it going, just let me know so I'll just mute the mic, and then I'll just watch when your face gets blue and your eyes start bulging a little bit. I'll click back in because I'll figure that you're getting towards the end. Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I'm figuring that you're running out of gas at that point.
I can't imagine it's going to go too much longer than like 10, 15 seconds. Like I can hold my breath, but this isn't holding your breath. This is letting the air out. So you only have so much.
Right.
I think at max I could probably do 20, 25 seconds.
That's pretty long. That's longer than I want to hear it. So I'm just saying that's way longer than I want to listen to it. So
that's fair. That's fair. So if it goes too long, I'll just cut it off. Okay. So all right. So that's my promise.
You know what'll happen? You'll get into a choking attack, and then you'll be like 4 minutes long. You'll be choking.
Nah. And if so, that's when you talk. So I'll mute my mic.
Yeah, and then I'll roll in and say, "Look, Mike's having a choking attack."
That's right. I called it.
Yep. I said it was going to happen. I've been there for him before.
No. I think I will have to breathe heavily for a bit, but I don't think I'll be choking.
Good.
So that's my prediction. But welcome everybody to this beautiful Monday night. And I hope that when you are listening to the replay, that it is still beautiful out. So
it is beautiful. I'll give you that. 3 days in a row of nice weather. So
yes, and I've had to work all three of them. So I'm starting to get the driver's tan, where one arm is nice. More tan than the other.
I've had that before. Yep.
And like half your like left leg is tan and the other half is white.
Yeah.
So that's gonna look good in a pair of shorts.
Oh, that look great. Yeah. And the beauty part is when that thing really sets in, and then the rest of the summer you try to play catch up all summer trying to get your other side equaled, and it never happens. So
no, you can't do it.
No.
So I actually a couple times this weekend took my hat off so I could get a little sun on the old noggin. So otherwise, like I'd have like a candy stripe line across my forehead where the hat comes down.
Yeah. That's bad. It's like the golfers. It's like when you see a couple of the guys that win on tour, and then they'll take their hat off at the end to say thanks or whatever, and they got the solid pasty white painted dome, and they're all nice and tan all around it. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. So I'd probably say a little over, it has to be 10, 15 years now. A bunch of friends of mine and I went down tubing on the Apple River. And
Fun time.
yeah, this was before, the flesh eating bacteria, and it became a huge garbage pump, dump.
Right.
But so I was in that tube all day, had my shirt off, and figured I didn't need suntan lotion or anything.
Oh, of course not.
So I got home. I got home that night, and because I was in a tube and squished, and I was a little bit more blubbery than I am now, like I literally look like a candy cane. So because I was that way for so long, so so a suntan, pale,
Pasty
suntan,
white.
pale. I'm like, that does not look good. That's not a good look.
That's a lady killer look right there.
Yeah. So, needless to say, I did not go shirtless for quite some time.
Yeah, like what, 2 years?
Well, until I found a way to kind of even it out a little bit. Either wait for wait for the burn to heal, which I think is what happened.
Yeah.
Or just try to burn the other part of it. But
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm no stranger to the uneven tan, is what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
So, great show in store for everybody tonight. I think.
We'll see at hour 2.
Yes. So we have another wonderful batch of your listener and stories and questions, and then hour 2, we got nothing. So it's kind of going to be the improv show where we're going to talk whatever comes to mind paranormal wise, and there's a lot going on up here in the old brain. So I definitely can't wait to see how hour 2 shapes up.
It's going to be interesting
because not even we know.
No.
So all right. Let's dive into the stories.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. Story number 1. Keep having random dimes fall around me. What does this mean? Here's what this person writes. First time it happened at a restaurant. A dime randomly fell into my lap. I blamed my partner, who claims that he never threw a coin at me. This was a week ago or so. The second time I was in my bathroom and I wiped my hand on a hanging towel, and a dime fell onto the floor next to me. It seems like it fell from the ceiling, but it definitely could have been in the towel. Maybe while doing the laundry, some spare change got inside it. The third time I stopped at the gas station, and as I opened my gas cap, a dime flew out and landed at the ground right by my foot. Is there any specific meaning to having random 10-cent coins appear around you mysteriously? I don't know if there is anything specific to the coins themselves or the fact that it's like dimes, but I actually have a friend who had the same problem. Right? I mean, she couldn't really say it's a problem, but had the same issue.
It's income. She's 30 cents richer.
Right there.
Right there. In a week.
So she's 30 cents by doing nothing.
Right. Times 600 weeks, and that's a retirement plan right there.
Great. But she, my friend, had that happen a lot, over and over and over and over and over again. She always took it as, I believe, and this was a number of years ago, but she believed that it was kind of like her father. Just kind of letting her know that he was still around, he was watching out for her, and like his symbol for it was putting random dimes in her path. She'd find them on the ground, she would find them in her car, she would find them, pretty much everywhere she went. So I mean, I don't know what's going on in your life, I don't know if you have recently lost someone. I don't know what is going on, but I think that it is somebody using the dimes as a way just to let you know that they're watching out for you, and that they're around. I definitely don't think you need to be in any sort of like uncomfortable or confused or hesitant or anything. There's no negativity to this whatsoever. Even if, let's just say, for the sake of argument, it was a demon. He's giving you money. He's showering you with cash. I think you're okay. But like I said, as to significant of dimes themselves, I don't think that there is any other than the fact that they're the lightest and smallest of all the coins. So it's probably the easiest to do something with them. But otherwise, from what I understand, and I know that there are a lot of people out there. There's another person I know that continually finds coins. I think they're nickels. But yeah, I think it's just a way for a loved one or somebody you maybe have lost in your life, just letting you know that they're still around.
Yeah, I did some research on this because I've heard of the phenomena before, and I think we've talked about it before years ago. I remember talking about it before on the show, and I thought the same thing. I thought, well, I wonder if there's anything around the actual 10-cent piece. So I did a bunch of reading today, and believe it or not, like 90% of the claims of coins showing up are dimes. Yeah. Which is interesting. I find that to be interesting. So whether it's a weight thing or not, like you said, I don't know. But I find it interesting that a vast majority of the cases of people having money fall around them is dimes. Secondly, I agree with you. There's absolutely nothing to be worried about here. I would agree it is somebody that is in your life that is just sending you a message. A lot of the stuff that I read online said that people take it as one really good story was there was a lady who said that her grandfather was passing away from pancreatic cancer. So very painful, slow death. She said, I want you to come back and let me know that you're okay when you cross over, but I don't want you to scare me. So like she didn't want him to like appear all of a sudden, and then she has a heart attack or something like that. So, so what happened, and it was one of her stories. She started having dimes all around her, and every time that one appears, she takes that as her grandfather approving of the direction she's going. Like a little, like a very positive thing, obviously. And then also as just I'm watching over you, kid. I got your back, and what you're doing is just fine. To the point when I found this to be very interesting, she has actually made two hearts, a heart within a heart of all the dimes that have appeared mysteriously in her life. Like she told a story, like she got up in the morning going to get a cup of coffee in the kitchen, and she looked down and there was a dime on the floor. And she kind of knew in her mind what it meant, but she's like, but it was early and I just got up and I hadn't had my coffee yet. And as I get to the coffee pot and I put my coffee mug, I'm ready to pour a cup of coffee. I hear chink, and I turn around and look, and there's a second dime laying right next to the first dime. Like right on the kitchen floor, kind of like, hey, don't walk past me and just disregard the fact that I left you a dime. So it threw another dime down. Whatever was leaving her dime threw another dime down. And I found that to be pretty funny. And she did too in her story. She was like, yeah. And so I'm like, well, there's 20 cents this morning. And so she picked it up and she said she was saying thank you to her grandpa and stuff like that. So I find that to be very cool. So if anybody in my past that's listening wants to do that for me, I really love like solid golden eagles, like from the late 1800s. And if you could find some that are like in mint condition, that would be beautiful. I like to collect those. Something with a little bit more weight to it than a dime. So,
yes, I personally would like something that's way less, weighs less than a dime. That's $100 bills. So if you could just go ahead and dump a few of those in my path,
fall out of the sky.
Yeah, it would be I would have found the money tree.
Nice. Well, if it's in your backyard, we're sharing it. So, all right. Number 2, you're working all the time. I'll just go collect the money. No, there was only 100 out there today, Mike.
You'd be moving out.
Okay. Right after I transplant the tree. Number 2, attached entity. To start off, I'm a 19-year-old female who has struggled with my mental health since a child. So I've been told that I am more vulnerable to a lot of things. My childhood was full of odd things that couldn't really be explained, but nothing that ever scared me too bad. Until I was 16 and my sister was 20. I stayed the night with her at our childhood home while our grandparents were out of town. She was pregnant with twins at the time. She called me at 6 a.m. saying she had fallen in the garage, and obviously I was worried because of the babies, so I jumped out of bed and was going to go help her. I got 3 steps down, and I swear on my life it felt like something had pushed me from behind, and I fell the rest of the way down the stairs. I got up and walked to the garage and was making sure she was okay, and she looked at me and said something had pushed her. This was the first time I had ever feared the weird stuff going on in my life. It was no longer just flickering lights and footsteps. That house sold, and my sister and her fiance moved into his childhood home where he had mentioned strange things happening to him. It was never anything too crazy, just toys going off when no one was in the room, the baby swing toys swinging around without batteries in it, lights flickering, knocking on doors, walls, etc. I spent a lot of time at their house in the middle of my living situations. I moved in with my father when he bought his new house in August of 2021, and suddenly the strange things happening at my sister's stopped. No flickering lights, no toys going off, nothing. Things were quiet at my house for a little while until the lights started flickering again. And it was weird because it reminded me of the flickering at my sister's. Extremely fast paced and chaotic. It honestly could give someone a seizure. But that was it. It was just the light that was going on until last night. Last night, after everyone went to bed, I heard banging in the living room, and I texted my dad, and he heard it too, and told me to go look at what was going on. But I feared someone broke in, so I stayed in my room really quiet so I could hear if someone was inside the house. It got quiet, and I figured something was off balance and just fell asleep. Around 2 a.m., I got up to go pee and get a drink. I left the bathroom light on accidentally after I finished peeing and went into the kitchen, and that's when I noticed the curtains and rod had been ripped off of the mount and slung on the floor, and a painting on the wall was slung on the floor as well, which explains the banging that I heard. But still, in the kitchen, I was in the fridge and heard a cabinet creaking behind me, and the kitchen light started flickering, so I took off running back to my side of the house. Okay, assuming it's like a duplex side by side or something. The bathroom lights were going crazy as well, and as soon as I walked into the bathroom to turn the light off, the flickering stopped completely. My sister called me this morning, and I told her what happened, and she let me know that last night was a blood moon, and I guess the moon can supply more energy or something. My question is there a chance this entity has attached itself to me and traveled where I go? Is it a different entity? How do I get rid of whatever it is? My sister used to sage her house all the time in hopes it would stop, and it never did. Here we go with the saging again. All right. You got to excuse me. My allergies are starting to kick in. So, okay. So there's a lot to unwrap here. And the way it was written, I was having a hard time reading it. So she's 16 years old, has her first experience, a lot of stuff. The flickering lights, obviously, if they're flickering to the point where it's like seizure provoking, that's not normal. So there's something going on. The knocking, we talk about knocking all the time. Getting shoved downstairs, though, and actually feeling like it happened, and then seeing her sister and getting shoved. She was 16, sister's 20 and pregnant. I don't know which one of the two was kind of poltergeisting that at that time, you know. Being pregnant with twins, even though you're 20 years old, you're releasing probably a ton of energy. It could have been the combination of the two in the same house where there was just a lot of chaos energy going on with the pregnancy. And then with her being, although at 16, she's past puberty, but she's still having growing pains at that age. So it could have been a combination of stuff. you go to your boyfriend's house and you say it happened there, but he clearly stated that things were happening to him. So that I can't say that had anything to do with you. And then you move in with your dad and kind of stuff starts happening at your dad's and it gets quiet at your sister's. So I'm going to say that whatever energy you're carrying around is it's with you, whether it's bad or not. I mean, other than getting shoved down the stairs is a big deal. It's obviously not good, but it was a one-time thing, and it was 3 years ago, and it doesn't sound like anything bad has happened since then. It definitely sounds like there's activity going on. So I would say that there's something going on with you. I would say, mental health, since you're a child, makes you vulnerable to a lot of things. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. I don't know what medication you're on. I don't, obviously being on meds could account for some things. It's not going to account for stuff getting ripped off the wall and thrown on the ground, though. I'm going to say my best advice would be to sit down with a psychic medium and find out what's going on with you. I don't think it has anything to do with the property. I think it has everything to do with this 19-year-old female.
At first, I didn't know what was going on. There's a lot of different answers to this. I mean, this is the kind of story and case, that paranormal teams, drool over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right.
There's a lot of claims. There's a long history.
Yep.
And there can be multiple answers
right.
to this. So I mean, that is what we are there to do. We are there to figure out what is going on. I think though, after hearing your answer and whatnot, I think that this is probably a lot of poltergeist activity. They don't seem to be hearing any disembodied voices. They don't seem to be, things really aren't even moving. It's just the lights flickering.
Right.
Oh, I shouldn't say moving. I just mean like disappearing and then reappearing later. That sort of thing. It has some sort of intelligence to it.
Well, they haven't seen anything ever. No shadow figures, nothing out of the corner of their eyes, no spirit, no mists, no cold spots, right? I mean, none of that shit. So
I think that the boyfriend's house is probably a completely different thing. I don't think that's connected to it whatsoever.
No, I don't either.
I think that it really just seems to be a sudden surge of energy, whether from you, whether it's from your sister at some point in time. It could very well be that when you moved in with your father and your sister obviously then just was by herself with her fiance, it could just be that her energy settled, that she calmed down. She kind of started leading a very happy and calm life, and the activity stopped. Whereas for you, still battling mental health, and I don't know, again, what was going on in your life at that time. You really didn't say that, all was well. So I'm assuming like all, 18, 19-year-old teenagers, you're probably having some emotional issues. I'm sure there's a guy that's pissing you off. Happens all the time. I just think that something probably was going on that caused your energy to act out. Whether it has to do with the blood moon, I doubt it, but you never know. Energy is energy.
Right.
So if the blood moon energy merged with your energy and just kind of gave it a steroid type boost for a couple seconds, that it is what it is. But yeah, I don't. My advice is kind of like yours, Dave. I don't think a psychic medium really needs to. I mean, you can. I would more sit down with a therapist, somebody who you can talk to, and see if that helps you deal more with what is going on in your life, and see if the energy and everything settles down. And if it doesn't, well then yeah, I would, my next step would be a paranormal team or a psychic medium if the activity continues. But first, I think let's rule out you as the cause. And not to say that there's anything bad about that. It's not anything that you intentionally did. But let's rule that out first, and then move into, a spirit or some sort of entity that is following you around.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's sound advice. I think it's her. I think that it was probably crazy with her 20-year-old sister pregnant with twins and her at 16 years old together in the same space. That was probably like a storm, if it's her, and I think it is. And now that she's moved on, she still has this, like, these bursts of energy. I mean, I would love to. I've seen lights turn on and off, and we were at a client's house, and I was standing right next to the side of their bed when the nightstand light turned on. So I've seen stuff like that, but I've never seen it like going totally nuts, like going to put somebody into an epileptic seizure. That'd be interesting to see, though. That's like something out of a horror movie, kind of, where you've got like the light where you're just like totally freaked out and don't want to go in the room type of thing. But yeah. All right. But I hope you get better. I hope she figures something out, Go sit with your therapist first, and then sit with a psychic medium and find out what it is, what's going on with your energy, because something's going on. So,
yeah. All right. Story number 3. Don't know what to do. So recently, my little sister, who's 9 years old, has been spending a lot of time in a room where our parents usually keep their business documents and stuff. I found it really odd because that door is usually closed off so she doesn't get in there. But every time my parents leave and I'm home alone with her, she finds a way to unlock the door and step inside and just talks. It's a full-on conversation. I also hear her giggle and laugh. So yesterday, I watched my sister as my parents went out to eat, and I found her trying to reach for the ceiling at the living room, laughing repeatedly, saying, "I want to go up there too." And I'm just utterly terrified. I hear knocks on walls during the night sometimes, and the lights would just be on when no one turned it on. I feel like whatever is in this house is getting stronger, but I don't want to assume it's paranormal, but every sign has been leading to it. Is there any rational explanation to this, or is this the start of a haunting? I don't necessarily think it's the start to a haunting. If it is a haunting, it's been going on for quite a while. Like you're not at the start. It almost sounds like you're towards the end. So I mean, obviously entities can unlock doors easy. I mean, I know you say your sister finds a way to unlock it, which seems odd for a 9-year-old. It also seems odd for maybe I'm just not around 9-year-olds, but it seems really odd for a 9-year-old to, I guess, act like such a young kid, like have full blown conversations or laughing and giggling and like kind of talking to air. It just seems like they would be like 9 just seems a little old for an imaginary friend. And I put that in quotes.
I would agree. No, I would agree with you. I think 9 is a little old for an imaginary friend. Yeah.
So, obviously we know from all the stories out there that if entities want to get you to do something, they will find a way for you to do it. They want you to jump out a window, they will find a way to open that window for you.
Yep.
If they want you to go into that room for whatever reason, they will unlock the door and will probably open it for you.
Yep.
For you to do it. I don't.
And I know we say that nonchalantly, And we're both on the same page with that. And that probably blows people's minds. Do you hear that? Like for the common layman to be like, what the hell are those two idiots talking about? That somebody could just open up a door and unlock a door. But it happens. A spirit has the ability to unlock a door. It has the ability to open up a door to the outside and lead a child outside if that's what it's trying to do. Lead a child into danger. You know, if it has that malicious intent to hurt somebody in the house and it wants to, it certainly can get a young child that has peak curiosity and isn't afraid yet, and do things like open up doors and lead them outside towards the street. You know, it's I know it sounds like it's impossible to happen, but it happens. I'm not gonna say it happens all the time, but it certainly happens.
It happens.
So it happens.
I guess what worries me and confuses me is, one, why don't you tell your parents about this? Like, hey, you know, Susie or whatever, every time you leave, gets into your office. Do you think maybe you could lock that a little better? Or what do you want me to do when she does this? Can you talk to her and find out why she's doing it? I mean, like, is nobody talking to this little girl? Is everyone just like, oh, she's in my parents' office again, I'll go watch TV? Like, what? Why is there no communication in this? That's my first question. But reaching for the ceiling at the living room, laughing, repeatedly saying, I want to go up there too. I'm not sure exactly what up there too is referring to. Do I want to go upstairs, or do I want to go to heaven? Like, which up there are you referring to?
I'm not thinking it's the second floor. I'm thinking it's the second floor. She can just walk up the staircase and go. I'm thinking it's something a little loftier than the second floor.
That's what I'm thinking, but
yeah.
I wanted to throw it out there. What do you mean by you want to go up there too?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit higher than the house.
Because if we are talking about the other realm, then I would very, very much be worried. Mm-hmm. And I would definitely try and talk to this 9-year-old to find out exactly what this new friend of hers is telling her. Because if let's just say, for the sake of argument, there is an entity that is interacting with her, trying to get her to be all excited about going up to heaven. And the next step is always, all you have to do is go and step into traffic and you can come with me up to heaven.
Right.
You know, that's all it takes. So, I mean,
just drop the radio in the bathtub when you're in the bathtub and you can come up to heaven too.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes is a small little suggestion of this is for the best. And you lose your sister. So I guess what I would try to do, and I don't want to recommend it at all, is try to keep your sister away from the room and see what happens. Play with her, play a game with her anytime your parents leave. Double lock the door. I mean, keep her away from the door, keep her away from whatever this entity is trying to do, and see what the reaction is. If there is an entity there, and I honestly do not take this advice lightly, I don't like it at all. But if it feels like you are getting in the way, it will make its presence known. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, that is when you call in a paranormal team, you call in a priest, you call in a psychic medium that has a thing on it immediately.
Right.
But I think the first thing you should probably do is talk to the parents and like try to get them to keep that door locked, or talk to the 9-year-old daughter, something to try to figure out what is going on and get a little bit more clue other than she's acting weird and it's terrifying me.
Well, I'm going to assume her sister she doesn't say how old she is, but I'm assuming she's not like 20.
Yeah, I'm assuming she's probably pretty young too. Probably
14,
early
15.
teens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was
early
thinking, right?
teens.
Old
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
that mom and dad go out to dinner and she can watch her little sister, but obviously still at a very vulnerable and 14-year-old girls that are home alone are scared shitless. I don't care. They have every light on in the house. When my daughters were doing, when Sam was doing it, we would come home and like every single light in my house would be on. Every one of them. Outside lights, every light in every room. There was absolutely no dark spot. Basement lights were on, everything was on. I'm like, why are all the lights on? Well, we heard something. Okay. Are you okay? Yeah, we're fine. Okay. All right. Let's go turn the lights off. Okay. I mean, but every light, you guaranteed. We were like, it's like we were the poster child for making Xcel Energy rich every time we went out. So this just hit me when you were talking about it. And God, I hope I'm wrong. But if she's looking up at the ceiling saying, I want to go up there too, what if something is trying to coax her up onto the roof? Like, what if something's on the roof trying to be like, look at how fun it is up here. And look at you could see for so far and you could see the lake and you could see your grandma's house over there. And she's like, yeah, I want to go up there too. And I want to see, well, all you got to do is climb out this window up here on the second floor over the concrete patio, like one of those kind of stupid things. So this is definitely one of those things. And I, and God, I hope I'm wrong here too, but I get the feeling this is one of those moments when the parents are just like, oh, it's all in your head. I don't think that, I think this older sister probably has gone to mom and dad and been like, look, there's some weird stuff going on when you guys aren't around. And they're like, look, you're 14 years old. It's all you'll be fine. Just turn the TV on louder, put some lights on. Everything will be okay. Don't worry about it. We're going out to dinner on Saturday. That's what I get the feeling. Like, I think she's frustrated because if this was written by a 14, 15-year-old girl, I think she's frustrated and she's worried and she's mature for her age. And she's trying to figure out what the hell is going on because she's not getting the support she needs from her parents. And that's too much for a kid of her age to try and handle on her own. But she obviously is concerned about her sister. But she shouldn't be in that position at all. So if you're listening, honey, if your mom and dad aren't listening, go to your aunts and uncles. Find somebody else in the family. Your grandparents, I don't care. Find somebody else in the family that'll listen and take you seriously. Get them involved. If you can get other adults involved, then your parents are going to be kind of forced to participate in what's going on before something bad happens. This is the beginning of something that's not going to be good.
Unfortunately,
I don't like saying that, but that's the way I feel.
Unfortunately, I agree. And you know me, I'm Mr. I'm sure it's all in your head. You're perfectly fine. This to me does not give me good vibes.
No.
This seems a little bit darker than normal. Yeah. Even though the little girl seems to be perfectly happy, but that's the whole point.
Oh yeah.
The whole point is to be the friend, and come on, let's go have some fun. And I hope them all the best, honestly. But I would definitely seek some help, whether it's from, as you said, another relative. Seek out, write to your local paranormal team. Go to your, if you're in a religious family, which I honestly can't see happening or being the case in this instance, go to a priest and talk to them, even though they'll probably just tell you to pray more.
Yeah, probably. But if you can get them to the house to do a blessing, you would find out if it's something malicious there or not.
Yeah, you would.
So, I mean, I'm not going to use the D word here, but it could be, obviously it could be something else that's evil. It doesn't have to be something demonic. I mean, it could be something, just, it could be a really evil person, I don't know, but But either way, they're not going to like a priest coming in and trying to bring light and love of God into the house, irregardless. So something, you will definitely get some sort of reaction.
Exactly.
So, okay. Fingers crossed on that one that everything works itself out. Number 4, weird dream followed by strange things happening in real life. I've been a believer for a long time. Lots of ghost experiences and other freaky things, but I recently had a weird dream that I can't get out of my head. I was having a different dream and went to sleep in that dream. So a dream within a dream here is what I'm reading. And then I was suddenly in a car at night driving through a weird city street with people looking at me from all sides. I couldn't recognize any of them, and they never moved. There was someone in the driver's seat, but I couldn't see them. I said out loud, "I know this is a dream, but it feels too real." And the driver responded, "Why do you think you're here?" A bunch of weird glowing symbols I didn't recognize appeared on the glass of the window, and I felt like my chest was caving in. Then I woke up in the first dream, and it continued like normal. It left me feeling really weird and confused, and I can remember the dream perfectly weeks later. I can't I can't figure out what the question means or what the answer is. And I can't remember the symbols exactly, but they looked like some sort of sigil. This is weird enough, but now I've started having strange things happening around my apartment. Things going missing when I know I haven't moved them and I live alone. I have seen things moving out of the corner of my eye several times. And last night I saw a very distinct small shadow run across the floor and hide behind a chair. I thought it was one of my cats, but there was nothing there when I looked, and both cats have been lying in bed the entire time when I checked. I don't know. I think I just love some opinions on what it could all mean and if this is a sign of something I should be aware of. Well, first of all, that's a heck of a dream. A dream within a dream, and then you realize that you're in the second dream, and then you're cognizant of the fact that you went into a second dream and had a conversation acknowledging it out, saying, I know this is a dream, but it feels too real. I'm wondering if somehow when you were in your first dream, you didn't break the veil and go into a parallel type of dimension where you were really experiencing something like that. Like you really were in the car and it wasn't important who the driver was. It was just important for them to give you the message. And then that message was backed up by these weird sigils or glyphs or whatever they were that you saw on the window. That's interesting to me because that would be, you'd almost have to be lucid dreaming or astral projecting within your dreams or something in order to be dreaming within your dream and cognizant of the fact that you were entering into a second dream. So that in itself, you've got some kind of ability with something going on there. There's something happening there. Not that it's bad or anything, and it's nothing creepy. It's just that you've got some abilities that are pretty rare that most people don't have. So started having strange things. I'm going to assume they mean that they're starting having strange things happen since they entered into got in the car and were in this other space. And now all these other things are happening in the house. So we've talked about this in the past. It's happened to me before. If you are astral projecting, if somehow you have the ability to be in a dream and then you can control your dreams and astral project out of a dream. It sounds crazy, but I believe everything can happen. So if that's what happened here, you could have potentially brought back something from whatever that dimension that you traveled into. It's symbolic that you didn't see the driver, but he was there. He or she were there. There's symbolism to all of the people standing on the streets staring at you, but not moving. And then whatever the weird glowing sigils were. So I think it's possible that you did bring something attached itself to you, unbeknownst to you, when you came back from wherever you went in that car. I would say that is evidenced by the fact that you are now seeing things out of the corner of your eye, the fact that you saw a very distinct small shadow run across the floor, and hide behind the chair. So obviously that means that something is there. I have had that happen too. I've had small little shadow figures. It's a pain in the asses, but and the fact that you've got things now that are being like moved, gone missing, that you put something down and all of a sudden you turn around and it's not there. So something is happening. I'm going to say that it's something that came back from you with the car ride. Should you be aware of it? Yeah, absolutely. You should be aware of, and something is happening. I'm just not sure what my next advice for a course of action would be, because that's a very unique situation that wherever you went, I'm not sure where you went. So I'm kind of stumped. I'm really not sure what my advice would be. So I'll think about that for a minute here while you kind of dissect it. First time in a long time I've been stumped by one.
Yeah, I too find it interesting that you're lucid dreaming in your dream.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think that that's unheard of. Not so much the lucid dreaming, but dreaming within a dream. I think we've had a couple stories on the show that have had something like that happening. And what kind of gets me though is I know this is a dream, but it feels too real. And the driver responds, "Why do you think you're here?" Almost like you have something you need to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
There's something unique or special about you that you're supposed to figure out. And what that is, I have no flipping idea. And it could very well be whatever this little entity that is going around your house or whatever is associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse, I have no idea, but I agree. I think something. I don't know if she brought something back or just attracted something. In general, not so much maybe even from that dream, but I don't think that the first dream really had anything to do with it. I wonder if the dream just got interrupted because you left. And then when you came back, the dream started up again. Like almost like you never left.
Right.
Like you stopped that moment in time, went to do whatever it is in this car ride, and then came back to that exact moment.
Right.
And then
that's kind of how I see it in my mind too. It's like, it's almost like a quick abduction out of a dream, transported someplace else, given some quick riddle, and then thrown right back to pick up, take it off a pause, and you're right back into your other dream again, right where you left off.
Yeah.
Which is weird. That is weird. It's almost like they got snagged out of a dream, which is, I don't know that maybe I have heard of that before, but I don't know. Maybe it was not, there wasn't anything like that happened afterwards, like the things gone missing and seeing, things out of the corner of your eye and then seeing a distinct shadow. So maybe it's the continuation of whatever happened. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. If that's the case, then we're looking at like consciousness abduction and not just abduction.
Right.
They left the body alone, but they took her,
right.
The essence of her, and then put it right back to where she was. I don't know if advice is needed right now, because I mean, yeah, the little figure and whatnot and the things out of the corner of your eye, it's not hurting you. I hope it doesn't. I guess I would sit back and see what happens. And if it gets worse, then yes, I would call somebody. Another, like I said, a reputable paranormal team, a psychic medium, somebody that would be able to maybe give you the message if that whatever that little entity is there to, whether it's to help you, whether it's to watch you, whatever, you could probably get your answers that way, or at least get put on the right path to finding that out. But the whole, do you know why you're here? Or is
Why do you think you're here?
Why do you think you're here? There we go. I didn't have it up. I went back to that. I went back to the screen. Why do you think you're here?
Yeah.
That's just one. Like I said, that's just one of those questions that just leads me to believe that you need to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
And once you do, I think everything else will fall into place. I just have no idea how to start answering that question.
No, I don't either. I think that they should start keeping a dream journal, because I think sometimes when you start writing stuff down, sometimes the answer is within what you journal, but it's not going to come all at once. So it might be one of those kind of things where you've got to kind of read through it and start piecing things together. I definitely don't think that this little shadow guy is just an observer. I wouldn't be afraid of him. If he was there to hurt you, he wouldn't be running and hiding behind a chair. He would be doing something to you, whether like trying to harm you in some way, shape, or form. He wouldn't be running and hiding. So I think that whatever it is, I don't know why I called it a he, but whatever it is, I think that it's just there. It's just there as an observer, and you happen to catch it. And so he was like, "Oh shit." And dove behind a chair kind of thing. Like, I'm not here. You didn't see nothing. I'd be interested to keep an eye on your cats, because we talk all the time about pets being substantially more sensitive to paranormal things happening. If you really do got a little guy running around the house keeping an eye on you type of thing, your cats are definitely going to notice, and your cats, they're going to start having a hissy fit that there's something in the house that they don't like. So I would keep an eye on the cats too. That would be a great way to determine, because if your cats are just chilling on the bed sleeping, obviously they don't realize that there's something there. If all of a sudden they start acting really weird in the next week or two, like hissing at things in the corner that you can't see, I would say that confirms that what you saw was real, and that they're just basically not happy that there's something in the house, and then obviously take it from there. So,
yeah. All righty, moving on. The big black blob. I have a question for you guys. For the last few weeks, I keep seeing this black amorphous blob, love that word, out of the corner of my eye in multiple locations in my house, but it only happens at home. It almost always follows the same pattern. I see the black blob. Try to say that 10 times fast. In my peripheral vision, I turn and look, expecting to see my roommate, and there's nothing there. Then I get this overwhelming feeling that I am being watched. And every time I tell myself that I'm being paranoid and to go back to doing whatever I was doing. Today, after I got home, my roommate told me that while she was trying to take a nap, she kept seeing this blobby shadow move past her bedroom door, which was open about 6 inches. At first, she thought I had come home early, but realized that it wasn't time.
Was it? Oh, yep. Sorry.
You're right. I'm assuming that she just meant it wasn't time for her to be home.
For her to be home. Yep.
Yeah. It happened again, and she called out, "You home?" But there was no answer. It happened 3 times in a row. I never told her about my own experiences before she told me her story. Then, about 10 minutes ago, it happened to me again. I was on the couch drawing and trying to figure out how I was going to fix the big mistake I just made, and I saw that damn blob again. I looked up, and of course, there was nothing there except for that creepy feeling like I'm being watched. Assuming that my roommate and I aren't crazy or have some weird medical problem that causes us to see big black blobs, what are the options here for what this could be? I've heard of quote-unquote shadow people before, but aren't they supposed to be, well, people-shaped? What else could it be, and how do I find out? So I'm first going to touch on the whole shadow people thing. One, you're not dealing with a shadow person. I just want to throw that out there immediately. You're not dealing with a shadow person. Secondly, yeah, they're typically seen in people form, but they do not have to be. There are tons and tons and tons of claims of them looking like spiders. They're looking like, bears. They're, whatever they think is going to freak you out and scare you the most. That's what they're going to appear as.
Right.
Although I do not think I've ever heard a claim of them appearing as a blob, especially since you don't actually seem to be scared of it. It more annoys you and it's more frustrating than anything. So I definitely don't 100%. I know, Dave, you won't go 100% because you never go 100%, but I'm saying 100%.
I like the way you said that. Because you never go 100%.
You never go 100%. I give you 100%. You're not dealing with a shadow person. So what do I think you are dealing with? Honestly, like story number one, I think you're probably dealing with a poltergeist. I think that this is something that you, or maybe the combination of you and your roommate, have created. If you look at just, what you were talking about here when you saw it, you were trying to figure out how to fix this big mistake that you had made. That's obviously very frustrating. You're putting out all of that energy. If that happens often, if you're a perfectionist like I am, you get frustrated easily if something doesn't quite work out the way you think it should. And putting all that energy out there, you might have created this blob thing. I think around stage 3 or 4 is when it starts to try and take form. And it might not have enough energy to actually even know how to create a form yet. That'll come later. I keep thinking back as I was reading this to like Amy Allen, and she has come across some poltergeists that she has described as black blobs of negative energy. I actually had a case, and it just popped in my head as I was talking about Amy Allen. I actually had a case where that's exactly what it was. It was that our client had abilities and didn't really know it, didn't know how to control any of it, but she had created this big black blob of negative energy. And it was wreaking havoc on her life. It was making her sick. It was doing all sorts of things. And she thought it was a demon, but it wasn't. But I definitely think that this might be created by either you or you and your roommate together. So again, my advice, if this is the case, how do you find out? Settle down. Cut yourself some slack. Don't try to get frustrated or annoyed or anything while at home. Same for your roommate. And
that'll probably go over real well.
I'm sure it will. I didn't say it was going to be easy. None of this is ever easy.
Nope.
But I definitely think that will help to make it dissipate. That's what I got.
Okay. I kind of disagree. I think that I don't see this being a poltergeist. I think this is more possibly a past homeowner or past, I don't know if they're renting a house or an apartment, or I don't remember if they said apartment. I think that this is more along the lines of somebody who used to live in that location, because the fact that she said it only happens at home. So that's kind of where I'm keying in at. She actually italicized the word only, so making an emphatic point that it never happens anywhere else. because it happens at home, I think it's homebound. So I think what it is I think it's an undefined, free-floating mass of energy that probably was a previous tenant or previous homeowner for where you're living. It's not doing anything. There's nothing. There's no crazy lights flickering. There's no knocking on walls. There's no curtain rods getting ripped down. There's no, cabinet doors open when you wake up in the morning. The silverware is not in the garbage can. Your soap and shampoo aren't, downstairs in the basement instead of on the shower where they're supposed to be. There's nothing happening. There's all you're doing is seeing these things out of the corner of your eye. So I think that's all it is. I think it's just an undefined shape of a previous energy that was there. And unless it proves me wrong by starting to do something to you, if it starts opening doors on its own, if it starts manipulating and moving objects, if it starts touching you, if it starts, raining in your bedroom, if coins start dropping, I mean, I'm just saying, right? Things like that happen. So if something like that starts to happen, then I'll get on board and say, yeah, something else is going on. It probably should be looked into. If it's just a black blob and nothing else is going on, I don't see any reason to be concerned. Honestly, I would just, if nothing, I would either just ignore it. Because if it's not doing anything to you, just ignore it. And, it'll probably dissipate. If it doesn't dissipate by ignoring it, then just speak up and claim your space. Like I said for a million years, just stand up and say, look, we're living here now. I can see you. You make me uncomfortable by seeing you. I'm not sure what it is that you want, but if you could please not, just arbitrarily show up in the house at any given time of the day, that would be fantastic, because you're freaking both me and my roommate out, and it's affecting the quality of our lives. And, can you please stop? Can you please confine your activity to this location in the house, or confine your activity to when we're sleeping at night? Something to that effect, and see if that helps. And then if that still doesn't help, then it's time to call in the cavalry and try and get an answer through a team or a medium.
I would like to update what I had said previously. So, I mean, obviously, the very definition of poltergeist is noisy ghost. Right. So I want to take away poltergeist and say that it's a PK manifestation. It's not to the point.
Well, no, that's two totally different things.
Not necessarily. I mean, a PK manifestation can turn into a poltergeist.
Can, right.
But not at another stage.
Right. But not always.
Right. So that's I just wanted to change what I said. I don't think it's an intelligent spirit whatsoever. But I think it might be a PK manifestation. Let me say that then. Change my answer to that. It's right along the same lines. It's just not quite poltergeist level yet.
Right.
So well on its way though.
Well, yeah. I mean, PK manifestations are, created out of energy and chaos, and throw some sprinkling of fear in there, and stress and all that stuff, and
frustration and
frustration, anger. You get all that all that kind of dark emotional energy just free flowing. And if you got two females in the house and they're both not happy, sure, it could be the start of a PK manifestation. I can get behind that. I couldn't get behind a poltergeist,
and that's fair. So,
but I do agree with you on the shadow people thing. It's not a shadow person.
100%.
99.6% sure it's not a shadow person.
There you go.
All right. So number 6, could dreams be a look into another dimension? Is it possible dreams and also creative thoughts could be caused by having brief glimpses to our alternate selves in other dimensions. That could mean that every show, movie, book, comics, etc., would be the result of someone seeing that thing or a version of that thing happening in another universe. Does that sound possible? Hell yeah, it sounds possible. I don't know if everything, but I could totally get behind the fact that somebody was traveling, whether they wanted to travel or not, and lucid dreaming, astral projecting, being abducted, whatever, and that they saw something in another dimension, another alternate self, another alternate universe. They saw that thing. They came back. That thing was burned into their mind's eye, and they wrote about it, or they wrote a book about it, or wrote a comic strip based on it, or wrote a screenplay for a movie that got picked up, and then a movie got made about it. Could that happen? Absolutely, that could happen. Has it happened? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But do I think it's happened? Yeah. Personally, do I think it's happened? I totally do. I think that there's a very good chance that a lot of things that that happen in our lives could be from some other dimension, some other plane, some other universe that somebody went to somehow, saw something or did something there, brought that knowledge or memory back with them, and then acted on it once they got back. 99.8%. Yeah, I think so. I think, and I do think too that, I think some of the greatest philosophers and some of the greatest people, like Einstein, Tesla, just throw a couple names out there, and there's thousands and thousands more. But I would not be surprised if those particular people who kind of stand out, like substantially stand out from the crowd, right? You've got 1 million people in a room, and there's one person who stands way above everybody else. Could that just be good genetics? I suppose. Is it more likely, in my opinion, that they were given some knowledge? Yeah. Like they were showing something or giving something so that they could take that knowledge and pass it on to the rest of us. Do I think that that's possible? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I too believe it's possible. I think it probably happens a lot. I think I've probably done it myself. There are a lot of times, this is and I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't bothered to look it up, but I know something that my investigator Cameron once told me is it's impossible to dream of people you've never met. And I find that to be absurd because I dream about people I've never met all the time.
Yeah, I do too.
But is it people that I have never met, but another me has?
It's a distinct possibility.
Is it, I have what I like to call psychic dreams where, I go forward into the future. I see shit places I've never been, see people I've never met. And then, 3, 4, 5 years later, all of a sudden there they are. I'm in that place. I see those people. But then there are times when I'm doing stuff that never occurs. Sometimes it's first person. Sometimes I'm a watcher. Is that me co-writing another me? In another quantum reality, and then I come back, or what? I don't know. It's weird because they don't make any sense to me.
Right.
But that's me. Could I be in another dimension at that time, experiencing something that somebody else is living? I don't know the answer to that. I've never as soon as I realize I'm dreaming, I usually just wake myself up, and I don't stay in it long enough to find out that answer. I'm not very good at lucid dreaming, I guess you could say. So
if we want to get a great hour-long answer to that question, we should have our friend Cena on, because she will blow your mind with the whole, you are everything that you're doing in the future. You already know. And, like I've talked to her and be like, well, I got this great EVP. She's like, yeah, that was you talking to yourself. Like, that's what she told me about the mansion, Captain Mary's mansion, when we got the EVP that said, oh, Dave, here we go again. Right. She's like, that was you. That was another version of you telling yourself, okay, Dave, here we go again.
Oh,
I'm like,
Dave,
what?
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. She goes, do you understand that? I'm like, no.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. She blows my mind. I love talking to her. Absolutely love talking to her. But she totally just like I just sit back and listen, I'm just like, wow, okay. We should have her back on. We haven't had her on for a while. She's been on a couple times.
I did just honestly, which is kind of funny. I almost thought of asking her on tonight.
Well, that's funny, because the sheer face popped up in my mind as you were talking, and I'm like, why is this like a perfect Cena moment right here? So yeah, maybe we'll have her on in the next, in the next month. We'll try to get her on, see what her schedule looks like. But bless you, she's got phenomenal thoughts like that, like just,
and she thinks she knows what Bigfoot is.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Well, then we're having her on for sure.
Well,
that's perfect. Yeah.
That'd be great. I definitely think that seeing alternate selves in other dimensions is definitely possible. Every show, movie, book, no. I don't believe. That's just saying, like, we are completely incapable of coming up with good ideas on our own unless we go to another dimension to get them.
No.
Like, no. So do I think that there are some out there that probably have been inspired by it? Yeah. No, not even close. No. So that's my answer. All right. So that's that takes care of our scripted part of the show. Meaning obviously that we have these stories.
Free range now, baby.
Yeah, now it's free range files here.
All right. Well, I got one. So I'm going to start.
Okay.
So, and it's a perfect segue from what we were just talking about with Cena. So recently I was watching a Bigfoot show. I'm not going to pat him on the back and tell her what the name of the show was. But so I'm watching this episode, right? They meet with this indigenous leader who has been raised, and this is in Northern California, who has been raised his whole entire life from like the old way, right? So like he didn't want to call himself a shaman, but he was wearing like this really beautiful, intricate beaded necklace and with like shells and other things on it. He was a pretty important guy in the tribe. Let's just say that. He didn't want to refer to himself as a shaman, but he called himself a healer. Well, that's kind of what a shaman is. So, but anyway, so he said that the lore of his tribe in that area of Northern California, that there are two separate Bigfoot tribes, two separate species of Bigfoot, and that one of them appears as a shadow. And they call him he called it shadow people. Not the same way as we think of shadow people, but he said they're the shadow people. And he said that they're on the verge of our existence. And every once in a while, if they're not careful, they're seen by people. And when that happens, they have the ability to basically bend light and transport themselves to someplace where they feel safe, wherever they want to be. He said it could be halfway around the world. It could be a mile down the river. It could be right around the corner behind a tree. He said it doesn't matter. Time and distance and space does not matter with these creatures, that they have the ability to bend light. And by bending light, that they can travel wherever they want to be instantaneously. That's very interesting, because we all know that Bigfoot is the greatest hide and seek player of all time. The
social distancing champion.
Exactly. The second one that he talked about was actual Bigfoot, like we understand Bigfoot. Humanoid type, hybrid ape, large, massive, muscular, can be aggressive. The interesting, he said, the thing that I found interesting though, and these, I guess these two tribes, these two separate entities have basically fought against each other along what's called the Eo River, which is this river that runs 100 miles through California. But the interesting thing again with this river is it runs north, which is rare. Like we've talked about in the past, all rivers run south and flush out into, not all rivers, obviously, but vast majority of the rivers run south and flush out into the ocean. This river is one of the rare rivers that runs north, kind of like the Red River on the North Dakota-Minnesota border. So he said that they have fought and that they have warred against each other, but that there's a peace there now, and they basically let each other be. The thing that really caught my attention, though, was he said the Bigfoots that we understand, the size of the shape of the large humanoid type Bigfoots, are basically like a 3-year-old child. That they will call to you, they will give you signs of their presence, they will make noises in order to lead you towards them. But that leading you towards them could end up in your demise. And they are totally indifferent to it. He said that not that they're going to kill you. He said they're completely capable of taking us out anytime they want to. He said, and I found this interesting too. He said that there was absolutely nothing that human beings can do to Bigfoots. Nothing. We cannot hurt them in any way, shape, or form. And he said that the big thing with that, when he kind of paralleled it to like a 3-year-old, he said is the indifference of it. He said they're not necessarily trying to hurt you. They're not trying to hurt human beings. They're not trying to lead you to some trap or something, but they just don't care either way. So they're going to play hide and seek with you. And if you want to chase them down, you might get one in turn that will do things to keep leading you forward, making noises, tree knocks, snapping of branches, that is going to cause you to chase in that direction, trying to catch a glimpse of it on your camera or your thermal or whatever you're using, which could lead you to run recklessly into a space where you fall down a hillside, 100 feet. And if you don't die, seriously mess yourself up. But I found it really interesting that he said that it's not an intentional thing, that they're not trying to hurt mankind, that they're trying to live their own existence peacefully with us in a coexistence type of setting.
Well, I know that I definitely agree with that, because if it's true that there's nothing human beings can do to hurt them, and they wanted to hurt us, then they would be our overlords right now.
Oh yeah.
Like they would have walked into LA, and they would have walked into Minneapolis, and they would have walked into Orlando or whatever.
New York. Yep.
New York, and just started killing people on a rampage if that's what they wanted to do. Because obviously there's nothing that we can do to hurt them, which again doesn't really make sense. Like, I believe I could not walk up to a Bigfoot and start punching him and hurt him in any way, shape, or form. But if I hit him with a car, I would probably hurt him a little bit. But maybe that's not me, because that's the car. The car can hurt him. I can't.
Right. Maybe that's what they mean by it. Maybe it's kind of cryptic in the message that we can't hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah. But either way, I don't want to.
No, right. I don't either, obviously.
So, it completely makes sense to me that they are trying to live their own live their own lives, leave us to our business, and we, and maybe one day we'll leave them to theirs. I also can get behind the whole they don't really care. Because it fits with what you see on TV. It fits with the stories Doug keeps telling us.
Right.
That they'll make all of this noise, but you can't ever see them.
Right.
They'll make all this noise, but you can't ever find them. And I can completely see them just being like, "Oh, I fell down a ravine. I guess I have to find somebody else to play with."
Yeah, that's exactly what I could see happening. Just like throw their arms in the air, like, well, now I got to go get his partner who didn't stayed at base camp because they were scared and didn't want to come play, and I got to go entice them to come out in the woods.
It's like, oh, well, he's dead. Is there another one I can play with?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but yeah. So I mean, everything that he was saying, minus the whole shadow part of it, I don't understand how bending light can transport you.
it's a theory.
Well,
That theory's been around a long time.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the same concept as a wormhole. So you're bending you're bending light, and you're bending. You're not bending time. You're bending light, and by bending light, you can transport yourself massive distances instantaneously.
So, kind of, if I could get a freaking piece of paper here from underneath my laptop. So, almost like if you were right here and you were right here,
right?
By bending light,
right?
All of a sudden,
instantaneously, you're together.
And now you're over here.
Right.
So,
right.
I guess I can get behind that.
That would answer a lot of things about aliens too, if you think about it. Right? If like you're talking about, like aliens are here 1 second and then boop, they're just gone. Like craft that they see. Sometimes they see them race off at ungodly speeds that none of our ships could possibly do, and other times they're just gone. So that if they have the ability to bend time like that, bend light like that, not time, bend light, then that's pretty amazing. And it would answer some questions as far as aliens playing hide and seek too. And then the shadow things could be like an alien tribe or a little alien colonized type of thing. Almost like I envision it almost like not exactly like this, but almost like a predator type of situation, right? Where you've got the perfect cloaking device and you're walking around freely. Now, again, my thought would be, why are they always in the middle of the frickin' woods 5 miles in from where anybody has ever walked before? Why are they not camped out on the outskirts of a city or a small town or something like that? Observing. So I don't know the answer to that. Unless that's their safety hub and they do have the ability to bend light. And so they could just show up in town whenever they feel like it and do the 2 hours of observing and then head back to their safe spot. Which, if this guy's right, then that makes sense. Which is crazy to think that you could travel like that. But again, if you took like the theory of relativity and wormholes and stuff like that, that's all in the same neighborhood. It's not exact, but it's all, I'm sure it's been discussed by some of the greatest minds as far as instantaneous time travel.
Right. I get that. I mean, it would also explain the fact that people can follow big footprints and they just disappear. I mean, if they can just manually
Skinwalker, right?
Just manually open up a wormhole or whatever and be someplace else. Well, then that's exactly what they do. I guess I just don't agree with the whole shadow part of that, because nobody has ever been like, I thought I saw a Bigfoot, but it was like a shadow of a Bigfoot. Like, that's never been discussed.
No, but there's two different tribes.
Well, that's what I mean. But nobody has ever come close to seeing this other tribe. I mean, I understand the shadows, but
the Bigfoot show I was watching, they showed a clip where they were walking along the river and they heard the splashing and everything on the other side of the river. They both turn at the same time and shine their lights. And as the light is coming, like they slowed it down. So as the light's coming like this over here, you can see a shadow of a humanoid type thing. And it's running away from the water. It's moving away from the water. As they catch up to their lights, which there's no way it could have gotten out of there. There's just no way. There was nowhere for it to go because it was a solid cliff face on the other side of the river. As they get their lights on there, which was like a half a second later, there's absolutely nothing there. But you can clearly see it when the light's not directly on it. I found that interesting. And that's what, because then he went and he talked to that guy about it. And that's when the guy that's what brought up the whole conversation about this other tribe of these other entities that live along the Eo River. But this terrain is, like that terrain that they were in is brutal. I mean, like prehistoric dinosaur looking brutal, you know, Amazon rainforest climbing through shit that takes you an hour to go 100 feet type of, you know, giant redwoods that have fallen over each other. And just, it looks like it's impossible to traverse, but they were working their way through there, but not very fast at all.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting. It's interesting, and I would definitely like to learn more.
Yeah,
about it. So I have one quick one, and then kind of a small little observation that I have done or come across. So first one, really quick. I posed this to Lauren when we were at the cemetery investigation this past weekend. Do you think, you know how people say, you know, when you get the shivers or whatever, like, somebody just walked across your grave? You know that saying?
The old saying, yep.
Yeah, the old saying. Do you think that that's paranormal investigators stepping on your grave in the dark as they're trying to investigate a cemetery?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have a good answer for it right off the top of my head. So that would have to assume that in some other lifetime I've passed and that I'm buried somewhere, you know, a different version of me. Assuming now that, you know, I would be reborn, right?
Well, I'm not saying from another dimension or whatever.
No, I'm not saying another dimension. I'm saying reincarnation.
Well,
so like previous version of me that's sitting in this meat suit currently, that was in a previous meat suit 50 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever. Well, not 50 years ago. That'd be strange. 100 years ago. And then somebody walked over my grave and I got to chill.
Well, I was just thinking of another, or I was thinking of a paranormal team in the future.
Oh, all right.
So like 30 years from now.
Okay. So after I've passed, you're saying, right. Yeah. So somewhere down the road, right. But I'm feeling it as like an aftershock, even though it's happening 30, 40, 50 years down the road.
Yeah.
Do I think that's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't know. I can't throw it out and say it isn't possible because, you know me, I believe everything's possible until I'm proven it, until somebody proves to me it isn't. So
what I'm going to do if I'm still investigating after you pass,
yeah,
I will try that out.
Okay. That's fine.
I'd be like, feel this, Dave. Boom.
It's possible.
I won't do any damage, but
okay.
I don't know why. Right in the middle of an EVP session, and suddenly that just came to my mind. I have no idea why, but
well, on the same note, before you change the subject here, sure. I had years and years and years ago, I had somebody tell me that every time you feel that cold shiver, if it just comes out of nowhere, that's one of your loved ones giving you a hug, like your spirit guides or some loved one that has passed, like grandma or grandpa or that they're just letting you know that they're with you and they're giving you a hug. And the reason you get that chill is because of the same reason that we know now, like the cold spots and the lack of heat and stuff like that. And so as they come up and hug you, you get a body chill, and you get the goosebumps temporary. Like, I just did it to myself. But that's somebody who loves you and is just coming up to give you a hug and let you know that they're with you. I could see that too, because it happens arbitrarily. I mean, it happens to me, but not often, of course, because like I've spoken on the show about my spirit guides like to just stand back on the balcony and just wave to me, if even that, or they just observe, wait for me to make a huge mistake, and then they're going to come run into my rescue. That's what I've been told by multiple mediums, that I have faith in their abilities. So, I think every once in a while, maybe they snuck a hug in there, and it doesn't happen very often, but I haven't had that happen. And every time that happens to me, I think about that.
It's interesting. I just wish mine wouldn't do it while I'm driving all the time.
Well, that's probably not the best time to have that happen.
Exactly. So, well, that's interesting. So, all right, here's an observation that I have, and I've been waiting for a story where I could be able to kind of relay this, because I think it's important for what we do. And since we're just kind of doing random topics tonight,
absolutely,
I figured why not? And that is, and you brought it up earlier, and you talked about the cats and about how they might start changing their behavior. They might start looking at the ceiling, blah blah blah.
Sure.
Blah.
Yep.
So a lot of stories that we have done, and we've discussed this, and we've even had a show on pets and the paranormal. But I would like to focus on dogs.
Okay.
And so a lot of claims out there is my dog looks at the wall, my dog growls at nothing, my dog looks down the hallway for no apparent reason.
Won't go to a certain room. Yeah,
won't go in a certain room, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Although what I have to say really has nothing to do with won't go in the room. So we talk about how sensitive like dog senses are and their hearing. And I would just like to say, from my own experience, dogs have amazing hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a delivery driver now, and especially on weekends, I go to dozens upon dozens of homes, and a ton of them have dogs. And there have been many, many, many instances where I don't make a sound as I'm walking up to a house. And I'll put like the package down in the front thing, and I'll like scrape the cement by like an inch as I'm trying to position so it looks nice when they open up the door. And the dog from halfway in the house will go nuts just for me doing that.
Yeah.
I have tripped over a stone and had dogs go nuts inside the house. Like they don't hear me approaching. They can't see me, but just that little, and they're all over it.
Yep.
So, I mean, when you have dogs, especially ones that have that type of hearing and that kind of, I don't want to say training, but like upbringing where they're going to go after anything that approaches the house.
Well, sure. Family dog, protective of the occupants and the kids, whoever lives there. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like they hear a mouse scurry outside. They're going to start looking places.
They're going to go investigate. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. They're going to look down the hallway. They're going to look at the door. They're going to do all of this stuff, even though you have no idea why. You're not going to hear a flipping mouse outside. You're not going to hear a raccoon, trip over a stone or whatever. I mean, and there are times where I make no noise as I'm approaching, and they will still go nuts. What's actually hilarious, though, and it makes me laugh every time it happens, is I'm walking up to the house, like they're right there in the doorway, like rah, just barking like crazy. They're jumping up on the window. Sometimes I think they're going to go through the window.
Yeah,
try to get
like you rip your throat out. Yeah.
well, and especially when I have Chewy boxes, with all their dog
Oh,
food and
absolutely.
treats.
Yes.
But what's hilarious is they're barking. I set the package down. They're barking like man. I turn and walk away. They shut up immediately and just sit there and watch me.
Yep.
And I
You're
laugh
not threatening anymore because you're leaving. Yeah.
I just laugh because I just put myself in their position. It's like, oh, he's leaving. I did a good job.
Yep. I scared him away, Mom. Mom, did you see that, Mom? He's leaving.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
But I find it amazing and hilarious that they're as soon as you approach, you wave at them, you lay there, you turn around and start walking away. They just shut up.
Yep. Well, you're probably going to be their best friend here after a few deliveries of the Chewy boxes, because once they see like the Chewy box, which is a distinct box, right? And they're going to be like, that's the guy who brings the treats, the peanut butter nougat treats, right? And the chew toys. So I'm not going to bark at that guy. I like that guy. That guy's okay. He can come over anytime he wants to because he brings over the good shit. Everybody else, I'm going to rip their esophagus out. But this guy right here, this guy's okay. He can come over anytime he wants.
I have heard stories about of dogs knowing what the Chewy boxes look like.
Yeah, I believe
and they act differently than if you bring something that isn't a Chewy box.
It's just a great big bland colored box. They're letting you have it. When you bring a Chewy box, and they're like, "Oh, Chewy box," okay. They sit there all quiet, waiting for you to get to the door. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Yeah,
I see you got the Chewy box again.
So, yeah, and for anybody who buys Chewy, just please order lighter. Those things are heavy. Give me a break.
Oh,
so
well, I think,
but yeah,
like as I say, we've talked about this. Like when I had I've always had golden retrievers. Well, up until big life change for me, but I always had golden retrievers, and I can't tell you how many times that whether it's my ex or I were coming home from work, and I came home at different times. I didn't come home at the same time every night because I had different hours because I was working in a job where I wasn't always home sometimes I'd be home at 5, sometimes I'd be home at 9. But my dogs would always know my kids, they used to say it every time I came in the door. They're like, Dad, I don't know how, but Jasmine knew that you were coming home. Like we knew you were coming home because Jasmine was sound asleep on the floor. She got up, ran to the door and started whimpering. And then like a minute or two later, you pulled in the driveway. And they're like, we knew it was you. We knew you were coming home because Jasmine was like, Dad's home, and ran to the door and was sitting at the door wagging her tail, just kind of whimpering, waiting for you to come in the door. And that blows my mind. Like, I know dogs are phenomenal. I love dogs. They're amazing. I have no idea how in the hell they know that I'm driving my car 2 miles from the house yet, that I'm going to be home in like 3 minutes, and that they're at the door waiting for me, and that I don't come home on a regular schedule. So there's no way it could be like, oh yeah, hey, it's 5:30. Dad's going to be home at 5:30. Dad's always home at 5:30. Let's go sit at the door and wait for him. Like that was not our lifestyle. So I have no answer for that. I would like somebody to explain to me how that happens. It's almost like a psychic connection.
It's either that or it's a particular sound that they become familiar with.
Like a particular car, I guess, maybe. Like they could differentiate my car from other cars, which that would be absolutely amazing too.
That absolutely would. I have a lot of dogs in my route, and then my business route, because there are a lot of businesses that bring their dogs to work.
Yep.
And there's one in particular. It's a black lab, I believe. Amazing dog. Love this dog so much. But I'll pull up to the back door, and it's just my van. It doesn't make any huge amount of noise, but my backup signal has that like construction beep beep beep.
Yep.
To try to make sure people.
Beeper. Yep.
Exactly. But when I go from drive into park, it passes that reverse. And so even when you pass it, you get that little beep, really quick
Yep.
beat. I'd probably say 9 times out of 10, as soon as I grab the package and walk over to the door and open up the door, that dog is sitting right there waiting for me. And I'm like, oh, there she is, and I just, and I pet her for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And, while I deliver and her owner signs my scanner and I pet him some more, pet her some more. But it always amazes me that she's right there at the door waiting for me to come and bring the package. And I think it's because she hears that little beep.
Little beep. Yep.
And she knows that sound.
Right. She knows you parked and that you're going to be coming through the door in 30 seconds. Yeah.
Something like that. So, I mean, I'm almost wondering, I mean, I don't know how far away you'd have to be or how close you'd have to be, but I'm almost wondering if your dog was able to differentiate your engine, your car, maybe there was a squeak to your wheels or something
right.
that said you were coming down the road.
Yep. The dad said home. Yeah, I don't know. It amazes me. I don't have an answer for it. It's one of those mysteries of the world. I don't know that we're ever going to get an answer, unless dogs start having the ability to talk.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Or unless we could understand like their vocality, like somehow we could
the rough.
Right. Like we could actually chime into their vocality and understand exactly what's happening and what they're saying. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody, if any of our listeners have an answer for that question, please send it.
Yes.
Or any theories. I mean, even a theory. I'll take a theory at this point because I honestly don't have anything other than, I built a psychic connection with my dog, or the dog's hearing is so incredible that they could pick my car out coming down the road a couple miles from the house. Other than that, I mean, honestly, I got nothing. And it's not very often I got nothing. So
twice in one night.
Yeah, twice in one night. Yeah, I'm on a roll tonight, man. Must be the allergies are kicking in. Foggy.
Maybe. All right, what's next for you?
Okay, so just something I found extremely interesting. Just a tidbit, and I'm sure people might have seen it, but if you didn't, for the first time ever, scientists have been able to grow plants in the moon dust that was brought back from the lunar landing experiment. So kind of a big deal, right? They've never been able to get anything to grow. They finally, it's a huge article and it's very scientific. So I'm just glossing over the concept of it happening. They're all excited, obviously. The scientists are all excited. And they're talking about how this potentially could be the first baby step to the colonization of the moon by being able to plant life there and produce oxygen in order to create sustainable life. Now, that's great. That's a great hypothesis. They didn't take into effect that I think the dark side of the moon is always like negative 352 degrees Celsius, and that the light side of the moon gets impacted by meteors and stuff frequently. So I'm not sure like the whole planting of the moon is like like we're going to go up there and have this tropical rainforest on the moon and people are going to be living there. I don't think that that's ever going to happen, but I do think it's amazing that they were able to take the lunar soil and get life and get sustainable life to grow in it. I found that to be really amazing. And I think that says potentially that some of the theories of water on the moon and potentially that there was some type of life on the moon, and it could have been microscopic life. They're not talking about human beings. They're just talking about life in general, something that's actually alive, that there could have been life on the moon. I kind of think that this gives that a little bit of a booster shot.
Well, I mean, we know there's life in the moon.
Yeah, frozen in the ice crystals and stuff. And we also know, right, that it's hollow. and Thanos is in there. Right.
I understand my theory on Thanos. That was way back in year 1.
That was. Yeah, it was a while ago.
But I keep thinking back, and no, not Thanos. I have matured and evolved since then. So I no longer think Thanos is in the
core of the moon. Yeah,
in the core of the moon. But that does not get rid of the kind of scientific question of nobody knows where the moon came from. It's got no reason to be there,
right?
And that there are theories out there that they think that people think that the moon is actually a space station.
Agreed. I've heard that theory too. Well, it's close enough that if it was an observation center, it's certainly close enough, for them to observe us. I mean, we have telescopes that are plenty powerful enough that we could zoom in and see, we could see a dog walking across the moon, for crying out loud. If, with some of the optics that we have now, do I think it's possible? Boy, it'd be convenient, wouldn't it? Like if there was really somebody that wanted to observe us, I mean, it would be awfully convenient. They're close enough. It's a great piece of camouflage.
Yeah. I mean, all they had to do is exit the dark side of the moon and nobody would ever see them.
Right. Exactly. And, and I think this is just a big part of the space conspiracy theory on this side, but supposedly on the rare photos that do exist of the dark side of the moon, you can see what looks like colonization of the moon with temples and other things.
I don't think I've ever heard that, nor seen any photos of it. So I guess
I don't know. I've seen the photos. I just don't know if they're like from NASA and legit, or if it's somebody made them up.
Oh, well,
so that's why I'm not getting behind it. But like if NASA officially released a photo of the dark side of the moon and it showed this big trench and these like 2 big black pyramids, then we got something maybe happening there, right? Like something might be going on. And that would be really cool if there were giant pyramids on the moon that tied right back into our pyramids, and then could give us maybe a little bit better understanding of how they were built or why they were built and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not you got 100 guys together and you grab these 58-ton blocks of solid mass and you rolled them across the sand in the desert, and then they stacked them a mile and a half high. Yeah, no, that's not what happened. Sorry. That's not what happened. That'd be one of those moments where I want to go back and like if I got to turn the clock back, there's like a couple instances. Like if you gave me 3, all right, I'm going to ask you first. If I gave you 3 opportunities to turn the clock back, to go to 3 very specific moments in time and observe what happened, where would you go?
I couldn't interact. I could just observe.
No, you're just a fly on the wall. Nothing. You can't make any difference. So like if you wanted to go back to President Lincoln's assassination and stop it from happening, you couldn't, but you could go observe it. And I don't know why you would want to do that, but
no.
Right. But I'm just saying, right, you could go observe his assassination, but you could go observe whatever you want in the history of time. What would you do?
Resurrection of Jesus.
It's a good one.
And I can't do anything.
No, you can't do anything. You could just see it happen.
Wow. There's that. Maybe Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech.
Okay.
Because since I can't do anything about it, I'd like it to be like pivotal moments in our history.
Right.
I couldn't die either, right?
No, you're not going to die. No. You can go travel down into a volcano if for some reason there's something in a volcano you want to see or whatever the case might be.
I'm torn between, for the third one, the meteor striking the Earth and killing all the dinosaurs, or like going and seeing like a full on, like maybe like a gladiator thing in the Roman Colosseum.
There you go. That'd be cool.
Or something like that. Being put on the spot like that, I'm sure I could come up with way better ones than that. But I think those three, if not four, I mean, obviously I would have to choose one, whether it's the meteor or the Colosseum. But yeah, I think that would be, those would probably be my three. I don't know.
Okay. So my first one that I would do is I would go back to the very beginning of time and see the creation of our planet.
The Big Bang, huh?
Right. And prove once and for all whether we evolved through normal evolution or whether God came and made the planet and then populated our planet that we're on.
Could, if it was the former as opposed to the latter, would you be able to accept that?
I would have a hard time with it, but I would have to. I'd be forced to accept it,
well,
right? Because I would witness it myself, right? It's not saying that it would, like, I'm not looking for a reason not to be a man of God. That is absolutely no reason. It's just my internal curiosity. I would like to see it, and just to see it for myself. And even if I like, we could never tell anybody. Like, you would go witness these things and you could never share the knowledge. Is kind of part of the game too. The second thing I would do is I would go see the construction of the pyramids, because I'm so tired of that debate, and I totally don't believe that they were built by men.
That's a good call.
I would go see the actual construction of the pyramids, and it would totally blow me away if they were built by mankind. That would totally blow me away. But I would have to accept it. It would just be incredible. And then the third is I would like to walk for a portion of the life. I don't know if it would have to be the resurrection moment, and it certainly wouldn't be the moment he was nailed to the cross, but I would like to walk with Jesus and the disciples, and I would like to walk with him and just experience him and kind of experience the influence that he had that created, the Bible, and created all those stories, of all these amazing things that happened when he was there and all these other things that happened with God and stuff. I would like to witness some of that. I would like to be part of some of that. And I wouldn't be part of it, but I would like to witness it and observe it.
Oh, well, you said a moment, so I didn't know like I could go like a whole year in.
Well, a moment being, yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be a split second. I mean, obviously, I'd be around for a while at the creation of Earth and the creation of the pyramids. And I'd be around for a little while at the creation of Jesus. If you're going to go to Jesus' resurrection, you're going to be there for a couple of days waiting for him to come back out.
3.
Right. So you're going to have to watch him be wrapped in his cloth and stuff like that, and then laid to rest, and then the stone rolled in front, and then you're going to have to wait 3 days for him to come out, and then find the Shroud of Turin laying on the table that he was on.
Maybe that's why nobody's been able to find it. Time traveler took it.
I don't know. Maybe, but I would definitely like that. The pyramid thing for me would be just because I want to settle that debate once and for all. But there'd be a lot of other things I'd like to do too. Like, I would really like to know if there really is an Ark of the Covenant buried on Oak Island. So I would like to, I know that sounds weird, but I would like to be there on the day when the money pit was constructed and watch what they put down in there and who built it. Like, I would like to observe them doing it. Was it some pirates, or was it, the actual Knights Templar, or was it something totally different, something that hasn't even come up yet, that they're going to find something that's going to lead them on this other path, so to speak.
I honestly think what's going on, and I don't know why this came to my head the other day, is they're going to find like a little bit, but I'm just wondering if there's some sort of secret, massive type treasure room that's not even where the money pit is. Like, there's just like yeah, well, not even really a decoy, but just like 10% of the treasure was here because the people will all be here, but they'll miss everything else because they'll be like, oh, this is all that was buried here, and then they'll leave.
Right.
And they'll not look for anything else. Although I still have like 9 episodes of this season left to watch, so we'll see what they have found. If
I
anything.
I won't ruin it for you. I did a binge and caught up.
Well, then you're ahead of me now.
Yeah, it's on Discovery Plus. You can binge it whenever you want to. So.
Oh, well, then maybe I'll just do that and delete all the episodes because then I won't really have to deal with the commercials.
Right. So that's what I did. I got all caught up. So it's a good year. It's been a while since I've been caught up, but it's definitely a good year. But before we take off, do you got one more you want to do?
No.
Okay. So this just happened. Newsweek,
this is live.
Yeah,
Breaking news.
Newsweek reported yesterday, and you can look this up, that a weird yellow brick road discovered at the bottom of the ocean. So ocean explorers have found a deep underwater structure that has the appearance of the mythical man-made road of Atlantis. The exploration vehicle Nautilus was being remotely operated when it was sent to peek at underwater structures known as seamounts, which volcanic activity forms on the bottom of the seabed floor. During an observation while they were looking for that, they stumbled upon what is an actual, you got to see it for yourself. It is an actual laid bricks down at the bottom of the ocean, and they're gold. And it's looks, you know what they say, right? Mother Nature doesn't make straight lines, right? Like any geologist, any explorer will tell you that when they're always looking for clues, that's the first thing they say. Mother Nature doesn't make 45-degree angles ever. These are cut blocks that are all laid. So if people listening to this, if you have not seen it, if you have not heard of this yet and you have not seen it, just look it up. Yellow brick road discovered and watch the video. It is absolutely amazing. There's a gold hue to these blocks and they're laid in a perfect thing. And then as this underwater EV Explorer is kind of traversing along the road, you can see where the road starts to deteriorate. And then these blocks are kind of laying to the side. Like there was a disturbance that disrupted the road, whether it had been an explosion at some point or whether it had just been an earthquake or underwater turmoil or whatever. But it's interesting as hell. So I don't know whether, I don't know where they're going to take it next. I don't know if they're going to go do more. I don't know how deep it was. I don't remember. Actually, the one that I'm looking at didn't say how deep they were. So I don't know if it's possible for human beings to get to that depth, maybe in a submarine and go take a closer look at it. But it's, they're calling it the road to Atlantis. More than one scientific team has named it that. So,
of course they did.
Well, it's interesting looking, is it not?
It is interesting looking.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is definitely probably a road to something. I just don't think it's Atlantis.
Well, maybe not, but it's awfully deep underwater. If they got to send an EV rover down, usually you do that when it's too deep to send a man-made sub down or like a man-containered sub down. So either way, there's going to be more on it. Obviously, they're not just going to dismiss this. Hey, look, we found the yellow brick road. All right, let's move on and see what else we can find. They're going to go back and they're going to investigate this more. So I'm sure it's going to be in the news more. So we'll talk more about it as more information comes out on it. But obviously, there's some type of road from some previous civilization that is deep underwater, which is extremely interesting.
I agree 100%. So that does it for the show here tonight. I want everybody to tune in next week because it is going to be, I think, the 4th edition of Random Shit with Dana Mitchell. Our good friend Dana Mitchell, who
always a great interview. She's always got so much interesting stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. She, for anybody who doesn't know who that is, she's the historian from Ghosts of Shepherdstown. She has been a guest in the show numerous times. We have liked her so much, we gave her her own show,
Right.
with us, a sub show,
random
shit. Yep, a random shit with Dana Mitchell.
Yep.
So she is coming back on here next week, and I'm not sure if it's going to be for just the second hour, for the whole 2 hours. It'll be up to her. But expect her next week. So you're really going to want to enjoy that. The whole premise of that show is that Dave and I have no idea what she's going to bring up. She chooses what she wants to talk about.
Yep.
She chooses the stories she wants to relay. It's all her. And
Yep.
Dave and I are just along for the ride.
Yep. My kind of show.
Yes, exactly. So Dave and I are really looking forward to that. We got a lot of great shows coming up for you, but really looking forward to that next week. So for Dave and myself, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we shall see you next week. Stay healthy, stay safe. Everyone, have a great